Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Flying solo as of the moment. We may have Tim joining us here shortly. Appreciate everybody making us a part of your Friday evening here as I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited about this Packers Steelers matchup. I think it's going to be an awesome game. Packers are still 3-point favorites on the road. You guys know that equates to more realistically 4.5 to 6-point favorites, depending on how you look at that with home field advantage. But with that being said, I think it's going to be an exciting matchup. I just want to say that both the Packers and Aaron Rodgers have been so classy this week handling this whole situation. I just love how Aaron had nothing but great things to say about the Packers. Jordan had nothing but great things to say about Aaron. It was cool hearing some of the media members talk about meeting with Aaron on the Skype or the Zoom, whatever it's called. Really, really cool stuff there as well. So I think it's going to be an awesome matchup. But in terms of tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the final injury report. We got a couple of names that popped up I'm not going to lie, a little concerned about. So we'll hit on that. And then we'll also hit a little bit of the PFF preview. We'll show you how their lineups match up against our lineups. We're going to show you our offense against Pittsburgh's defense from a PFF standpoint, their offense against our defense, so on and so forth. We may get into some next-gen stats as well over on NFL Pro and give you guys some extra insight as well. So before we do all that, if you guys and gals would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media. We're just fans like you talking Packers on the daily. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you click subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified every time we do go live. And I see the chat is already on fire. Appreciate everybody jumping in here. Deadfish says, sounds like Clayton's still a little bit under the weather. Get well soon. Appreciate you, Deadfish. Yeah, you guys know the drill. Maybe some coughing going on, but we'll muscle through it anyway for sure. Yeah, appreciate the kind words there, man. And listen, it's been a rough, I guess about 5 days now, something like that. Actually, it's been a week. It first started Saturday, I think. And I know Emilio went through it. Tim went through it. It seems like the bug I caught, I actually got it from Mandy and her sister went down to Florida. All right, little mini vacation. They come back, her sister a little bit sick. All right, then I get it. Now Mandy's got it, so you know how that goes. So we'll get through it though, man. It's football season, so makes things like this a lot easier to handle, obviously. So 2-0 for the says feel better, Clay. If you need me to run to what Carbondale to get you some gas station yams, I got you. All right, appreciate that. Appreciate it. Let's jump into it, guys. So, injury report. Matthew Golden and Warren Brinson were added to the injury report today, bringing the total to 5 listed as questionable. All right. So, who are those 5? Defensive lineman Devontae Wyatt with the knee, wide receiver Christian Watson with the knee, kicker Brandon McManus with the right quadricep, wide receiver Matthew Golden has a hip injury, sounds like, and then defensive lineman Warren Brinson with the hamstring. Okay, so those are the 5 that are listed as questionable. You guys know I don't even want to talk about the reason they have the injury report so detailed in this regard. Like questionable means 50-50, like a 50% chance they'll play. Like doubtful means a 25% chance they'll play. Probable means they're a 75% chance they'll play, right? I want to say that because, for gambling purposes, they want the realistic injury report. Right now, that's a touchy subject, obviously, with what's going on with the NBA. So with that being said, all 5 of those players listed as questionable. There's a 50% shot that they're going to play on Sunday night. Okay. So now let's dive into the rest of the injury report, see what else changed here. Obviously, Warren Brinson and Matthew Golden going from not listed to limited, and then, of course, questionable. Those are changes there. Xavier McKinney with the ankle/knee was limited. Wednesday, Thursday, he was upgraded to full participation. today. So he should be good to go. There's no designation there. And then Evan Williams was limited all week with the back. He was full participation today as well. So we should be good to go there. Yeah, some people got what I was talking about. I guess Chauncey's bill was up. There you go. Boy, that's ugly. Again, I'm going to try not to get into it, man. That's just an interesting situation. If there was ever a league or a sport that just always seems suspect to me, it's always the NBA, man. Always was the NBA. But let's move on to the Steelers side. So we've been talking about Zach Frazier, their starting center. I think it's huge whether or not he plays, right? So he had the calf injury. He was limited on Wednesday. Thursday, he did not participate. That made you think, okay, did he have a setback? Today, he was limited once again, and he's listed as questionable. So the fact that he was limited today, I think he'll probably play on Sunday. We'll see. And here's the thing, man. You guys know how Aaron is with that hard count. You know how Aaron is and how militant he is about taking the play clock all the way down to 1 second because he wants to make sure he gathers as much pre-snap information as he possibly can before the ball is snapped. If he's got a backup center in there, guys, that's a big deal. So I kind of think Zach Frazier will play. I hope he doesn't, to be honest with you, but I think he will be out there. So other changes on their injury front. Obviously, Cam Hayward was veteran rest. He was upgraded to full participation. No surprise there. Same thing with DK Metcalf with the veteran rest. Scotty Miller, you got Scoots over there, right? He had a finger injury. Not listed on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, did not participate today. He's officially listed as out. And then, of course, TJ Watt with a little bit of a hip injury, but mostly it was just veteran rest. He was upgraded to full participation, so he will be good to go as well. So let's see what 2-0 for this has to say here. Maka is guaranteed for at least one offside penalty with Rodgers' hard count. I cannot argue with that 2-0 for this. Man, Maka's been if there's been a negative with Micah Parsons, and listen, the positives far outweigh the negative, but I think you're spot on there, man. He's jumped off sides I don't know how many times already, right? So I would say Aaron will probably get him once or twice would be my guess. Now maybe they'll work on it, and if there's anybody who understands Aaron Rodgers' hard count and some of the nuances of it, it's Jordan Love. Which, with that being said, you would think that in practice, at least in training camp time, right? Of course, Micah wasn't here for training camp, so that explains that. I was going to say he's probably gotten a good little dose of that from Jordan because Jordan learned from the best in Aaron, right? With the hard count. And also, I imagine that Matt LaFleur would be able to coach up Jeff Hafley so Jeff Hafley could coach up his guys on maybe just some of the intricate details of Aaron Rodgers' hard count there as well. So, yeah, hopefully it's not an issue come Sunday. So there you go. There's your injury report for the game Sunday night. All right, let's jump in now to the PFF preview. And I just like to take a look at the lineup and kind of see, all right, who on their team maybe might flash as a Tuesday player. And by the way, we've already gotten up over on the Patreon group. The game plan has started. Okay, so what we've got is the 3 keys on offense, the 3 keys on defense, along with the final injury report, the things we just covered. And then tomorrow, I'm going to add in the Tuesday players and a little bit of a strategic approach there. If I get time to watch some tape, I'm also going to show you maybe 1 or 2 diagrams of plays that Pittsburgh's like to run that they've hit some explosive plays on, much like we did there with the Arizona Cardinals. You guys know we showed a couple of concepts or talked about a couple of concepts, showed one on Patreon. And lo and behold, Marvin Harrison Jr. ended up being a little bit of an issue, right? He made several plays in one-on-one situations, not enough for them to get the dub, but, nonetheless, he was a factor in the game for sure. So, all right, let's jump into, excuse me, our offense against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. All right, the first thing I want to point out here on our side of the ball, how about this, guys? Josh Jacobs is officially the highest graded running back in the entire NFL with an 83.1 offensive grade. How cool is that, right? And, we would all agree, man, the running game seems like it's been a little, struggling a little bit this year. And I think we would all agree it's the offensive line's fault. It's not Josh Jacobs' fault, but it's just so cool to see Josh Jacobs getting the recognition he deserves there, being an 83.1 and being the highest graded running back in the National Football League right now. That's really, really cool stuff. Jordan Love, 78.6. He's currently sitting as the ninth highest graded quarterback at that 78.6. He's got a passer grade of 79.8, which actually makes him the seventh highest passing grade in the NFL. So Jordan Love officially a top 10 quarterback. Most people think top five. I think at his best, he's top three. And at his worst, he's top 15, is kind of how I see it. So obviously, that number 10 spot just inside it falls right there in the middle. So when we look at our offensive line PFF grades now from left to right, we got Rasheed Walker, 63, Aaron Banks, 49, Elton Jenkins, 59, Jordan Morgan, 48, and Zach Tom, a 76. I tweeted out some statistics earlier today. I retweeted someone. I think it might have been Jacob Morley that posted it. I apologize if it wasn't. But talking about how Jordan Morgan is, there's some other analytics that are showing that he's a really, really effective pass blocker at the guard position. So again, the PFF grades are what they are. Take them, with a grain of salt. And I think Jordan Morgan is playing much better than that 48.4 is actually giving him credit for sure. So now let's look at their defensive front, because this is one of the most important matchups I think of the day is what does their defensive front look like against our offensive line? Well, they've got two players that I would dub Tuesday players, right? You've got Cam Hayward in the middle, the defensive tackle. And listen, man, he's been doing it for a while, and he's still doing it at an exceptionally high level, 89.6 elite PFF grade. So Cam Hayward in the middle, 6'5", 295, obviously a former first-round pick all the way back in 2011. It's amazing how time flies. Absolutely wild. I was actually in a Madden league with him one time, believe it or not. That's a story for another day. That was a really interesting situation. Pretty cool. Seems like a really, really good guy for sure. But again, 89.6, man. Run defense grade 80.6, pass rush grade 81.3. He's just solid. He's one of those dudes in the middle that they'll probably in key situations, they'll try to put him opposite of TJ Watt. That way the offensive line is somewhat conflicted on who do they want to double team. You'll always be trying to chip Watt and double team Hayward, I would imagine. We'll see how that goes. So you guys know, man, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? That's what Mike Tyson once said. And Cam Hayward is one of those guys that can do it for sure, man. Yeah, that's right. Deadfish says Ironhead Hayward's son. I grew up rooting for Ironhead because obviously he played for Pittsburgh as well. And I do like the way that the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of, they got Joey Porter Jr. there, so on and so forth. Really, really cool how they approach stuff. So Aaron Rodgers with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, evening PTA, excited for Sunday Night Football. Love Rodgers. He will always be my GOAT. One thing to watch is Rodgers catching us with 12 men on the field. Go, Pack, go. It's a very, very good point. And what he's going to want to do, he's going to want to rotate in and out of 12 to 13 personnel back to 11 and try to catch us lagging, right? And listen, chances are he will catch us once or twice, just like the hard count. You just got to make sure you minimize that opportunity he has for those free plays for sure, man. So, yeah, appreciate the super chat, Aaron. And I'm glad you brought that up, man. That's a great point. I'm sure everyone will be looking for that on Sunday night as well, man. Aaron's one of the best to do it when it comes to that. So, all right. So we talked about the running back. Let's talk about their linebackers, guys. If there's a weak spot in this defense, at least from a PFF standpoint, I think it's definitely the linebacker position, all right? So Peyton Wilson, you guys know, had a great rookie year, 74.0, 17th highest graded linebacker in the league last year. And of course, he's having that sophomore slump at a 44.3. He's always going to be kind of, in my opinion, comped to Edgerrin Cooper. I know we got Edgerrin Cooper in the second round. He and Peyton Wilson fell all the way to the third round, mainly because of injuries. But Peyton Wilson, he had elite athleticism, if I remember correctly. They were just a little concerned about his injury history. But he's off to a slow start this year. And you can look at this one of two ways. We talk about this all the time. If a player graded out well in prior years and he's down early in the year in the current year, you can look at it like, oh man, he's not playing as well this year, or you can look at it like he's due for a breakout game, right? So I try to stay pretty balanced in that regard. But Peyton Wilson, I think, is a good linebacker, a good young linebacker. I think that he's just off to kind of a slow start here. Obviously, run defense grade 47.5. When you look at the stacked backers, man, along with Patrick Queen, who had a great year last year, if I remember right. No, maybe not. So he had his best years in 2022 and 2023. So last year he graded out a 56.8. This year he's sitting at a 46.9. So with Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson struggling this year and Don't get me wrong, Patrick Queen's run defensive grades much better than Peyton Wilson's at a 68.8. Pass rush grades is 73, but his coverage grade is really bad, right? So at a 32.9. So one of the weak spots of this defense, if you look at the defensive front and you say, okay, Cam Hayward's a stud. And of course, we know TJ Watt's a stud. We'll bounce back and talk about him here in a second. You look at the stack backers and go, okay, that's a weak spot, right? So you start to formulate your game plan around, if the PFF grades were to hold true to on-field performance, right? And again, I don't think it's everything, but I think it is a valuable tool. You got to look at this and go, okay, first and foremost, let's make sure we protect Jordan Love, right? Let's make sure that those two Tuesday players and Cam Hayward and TJ Watt don't blow up the game plan, but you can really attack those linebackers. How can you attack them? Let's run the football, right? Let's establish a run, but also their pass defense from a statistical standpoint is actually worse than their run defense. So what I put in the game plan is, hey, let's go out there and air this thing out. Now you got to be aware of Patrick Ramsey. Patrick Ramsey, really crazy stat I read earlier today. Let me find it here. Jalen Ramsey has allowed only 2 yards per coverage snap when aligning. Has allowed 2 yards per coverage snap when aligning as a wide corner this year, the 4th most in the NFL. So when he's outside, he's given up the 4th most yards per coverage snap of any corner in the league, right? So he's like 4th most in a bad way. But another stat, Jalen Ramsey has allowed 2 yards per coverage snap when a line out wide, 4th most in the league. However, he has also allowed 3 touchdowns from that alignment, tied for 6th most, right? However, when aligned in the slot, he's allowed just 1.1 yards per coverage snap, nearly half of the 2 he has allowed at wide. So why do I say that? It's kind of like a Nate Hobbs thing, guys. We haven't seen Nate Hobbs in the slot, so we just see him out wide and we think, oh man, he's not performing that well. Well, if he was one of those guys that he was playing in the slot in our nickel and then only in base he would kick outside, which is what he did with the Raiders, maybe we would look at him a little bit different, right? Ramsey is really good. I would say he's really good in the slot, but he's struggling on the boundary, right? So how do you keep him on the boundary? Maybe you stay in 12 personnel, right? So if you stay in 12 personnel and he stays out on the boundary, maybe you can get a little bit of an advantage there, but also you want to press into 11 personnel. If Matthew Golden is healthy and Christian Watson's on the field, you're probably going to run more 11 personnel than you have here recently. If you approach it that way, you probably want to stay away from those slot targets. And the reason being is because if Matthew Golden is playing F and Christian Watson's playing Z while Romeo Doubs is playing X, Dontavion Wick's probably going to be out this game, then you probably want to stay away from trying to target Matthew Golden, because when you're in 11 personnel, Ramsey's going to be covering him, right? And he's better in the slot as opposed to outside of corner. Again, it doesn't mean he's going to be better on Sunday night, but that's what the statistics show, the analytics show so far in this young season. So let's bounce back now to TJ Watt. We kind of skipped over. I want to get back to it, right? TJ Watt's having a down year here, according to PFF and statistically, okay? So obviously, the prior 2 years, 2023, a 91.9, last year, a 91.7, and then this year, he's fell to a 78.3. Still a solid year, right? But he's definitely having a down year. I want to say I pulled the stats earlier, and I feel like he hasn't been as effective this year statistically either. So I kind of agree with the PFF grades there. Yeah, like when you look at pressure percentage, guys, if we were to show all players, I know you guys can't see this. I'm just going to read it off to you here real quick. TJ Watt this year, his pressure percentage is 12.1%. And he's got 4 sacks on the year, but his pressure percentage has dipped to 12.1%. Now, it looks like his run stops are up a little bit with 20 run stops up to this point. So PFF saying he's having a down year, but even with that down year, it's still pretty effective, right? 12% pressure rate is not bad. It's just we're used to TJ Watt being up there around 18 or 19%. So, again, I still classify him as a Tuesday player. I think he's the heart and soul of that defense, him and Cam Hayward right there up front. So, again, attack the stack backers, right? Be very, very aware of the pass rush and don't let Cam Hayward and TJ Watt blow up the game plan, right? That's going to be the main thing here. Now, when we go to the cornerback position, we talked about Ramsey a little bit, right? 65.1. On the outside, Darius Slay, a 54.7. So he's struggling this year. And then Joey Porter Jr. at a 60.6. So the cornerback room, Nothing special there, right? Nothing special. And here's just a little side note. You guys make a mental note of this. They play a ton of cover three and a ton of cover one man. So the majority of the snaps we're going to see Sunday night, their defense is going to be in single high looks. And I think we've got a stat on this as well. If I can go back to the homepage, give me just a second, because I thought this was really, really interesting here. Jordan Love. All right, so here we go. The Steelers defense has utilized a single high safety on 66% of dropbacks this season. That's the second highest rate in the NFL. When using single high, the Steelers have allowed a league high, I repeat, a league high 1,093 yards. So here's a matchup statistic here. Jordan Love has averaged the fifth most yards per attempt against single high in 2025 at 8.3, while completing 64% of his passes, right above the league average of 63.3%. So what's the moral of the story there? If they stick to their normal game plan, they being the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to be in middle field close, what we call middle field close, which means single high safety, which means cover one man or cover three, different variations, right? Jordan Love has pretty much been the fifth best quarterback at attacking middle field close. So if they don't change up their game plan and go to a shell look, right, or a zero look, Jordan kind of has the advantage there. So what you're noticing is when you're in 11 personnel, Matthew Golden you're kind of reducing your chances of being effective there if you go to Matthew Golden too early and too often with Jalen Ramsey playing better in the slot than outside, right? They're going to be in cover one man and middle field close most of the day. This to me kind of feels like a Romeo Dobbs game. I could be wrong, but it kind of feels like a Romeo Dobbs game. Now, when they're in cover one man and you run a crossers concept, we ran that quite a bit. You guys remember we ran mesh and crossers. We showed you on Chalk Talk. And if you guys are wondering, if you don't know what mesh and crossers, mesh is just two shallow crosses that intersect. Crossers are two mid to deep climb / crosser routes that intersect. And that is a middle field close beater. Primarily, it's a man coverage beater, a cover one beater. Okay. So, with that being said, if you press into 12 personnel and get Ramsey on the outside where he's not as comfortable as in the slot, and let's say you do have Matthew Golden on the field, or let's say it's Christian Watson, and you're running those crosser concepts with maybe mesh underneath with your two tight ends if you come out in your dub set, hey, that sounds like a recipe for success to me. So, just keep that in mind. They run a lot of middle field close. Jordan Love has been very, very effective at middle field close. So now that's their cornerback room. Let's look at their safeties. Their safeties don't look too bad, really. Clark back there, a 66.3 is the 25th highest graded safety. That's Chuck Clark. Oh, Chucky boy. So he's having a decent year, and you can kind of see his best years were 69.8. His lowest years were a 50.8, which was last year. So he's having a pretty solid start here. So I wouldn't consider their safety room a weakness, to be honest with you, because opposite of him, you've got Deshaun Elliott from the Texas Longhorns, former 6th-round pick, and he's grading out a 69 this year. Last year, he was a 71.1. So, again, the coverage grade not that great, 63.6, with the pass rush grade of 76.9. What's that tell you? Probably, excuse me, they're probably playing him as the Spurs safety the majority of the time, and they're not afraid to fire him on a fire zone blitz and drop someone else out into coverage, right? So that's kind of how I see that situation there. Again, I don't see their safeties as a weak spot. I see their corners as a weak spot, and their linebackers as a weak spot. They're stack backers, if that makes sense. So Brooke with the super chat, thank you. She says, "See above, LOL." Thank you, Brooke. Appreciate you. Says wish list play: Love bombs to Watson. Exact same play as the first throw from Rodgers to Watson, identical, but it completes to be a touchdown. I've said this earlier in the week, Brooke. Somebody else has said, "Man, how cool would it be if the first play back, Watson, they hit Watson for a deep touchdown? If that happens, I'm going to hit my head on the ceiling fan. I'm just telling you right now. I'm going to be so fired up. If Watson comes out there and shows he's still got the speed just right off the bat, just why not do it? First play of the game, if they show you single high look, cover one man, and they're kind of playing that outside leverage like we talk about, funneling things to the post safety, then why not try to bend it outside and take the inside, which is actually the same exact play. If you guys remember, I can't believe I remember this play. You go back to Rodgers' first year there with Christian Watson. And it was later in the year against Dallas at Lambeau. And it's the same technique Watson did. He busted up the sideline, leaned on the corner outside, and then broke back inside to make the catch because, again, he's playing outside leverage with the safety, in playing center field. And if I remember correctly, that was Dan Quinn's defense at the time, which was man coverage heavy. So it was probably a cover one look. Use your body to create a little bit of separation, force him to the sideline, kind of make him overplay his leverage, and then last second late hands catch to grab it there. So, yeah, Brooke, I would be fired up if that were to happen. And thank you for that super chat. Appreciate you. So, all right, that's pretty much how our offense stacks up against their defense for the most part. Now, listen, we're showing Watson obviously no grade, so it kind of feels like PFF is anticipating Watson to play. Golden is now our highest graded receiver at a 70.4. Okay. Now keep in mind, Golden did pop up on the injury report, so there's a chance he doesn't play. So we got to take that into consideration as well. So let's pretend Golden doesn't play in this game. What does this look like? Right? Who's going to be playing the F or the slot position? You'll have Watson at the Z if he's healthy, right? Dobbs at the X, Golden out of the game, Dontavion Wicks out of the game. Does this mean Savion Williams is going to have an opportunity? And again, I hope Golden's on the field. I'm just kind of lining up getting all the ducks in one row here. What would the offense look like if Matthew Golden is not in the lineup, right? I think it would also spell a lot more 12 personnel, right? That's another way that you can kind of get around that too. So that might be the approach they take as well. Our Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers, with a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, I feel like it's going to be a craft game with the weak coverage at the linebacker, especially if Golden and Watson are playing. So that's a great point, Aaron. I'm glad you brought it up. Let's say that's the case, right? Let's say that maybe Matthew Golden isn't playing and we had to press into 12 and Tucker Kraft is going to be the guy that you highlight. Look at Tucker getting better every year, guys. I seen the projection earlier today. Somebody had projected out his stats at the rate he's going this year. And if he keeps it up, Tucker Kraft's going to finish with like 900 yards receiving, right? Which is really, really awesome for a tight end. But his PFF grades starting in 2023, 60.4, 67.8, 68.1. And I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like he's getting better every game. So I expect him to finish in the 70s this year. And that's the type of trajectory you're looking for a good young player. You know, we always talk about this, is a perfect example. We always talk about how with a player, when they're drafted, their rookie year, if they grade out in the 60s, it can be the low 60s. It can be, just right there, like Tucker here, 60.4. That's typically an indicator, okay, this guy can play at this level. Now, how much is he going to apply himself? How much is he going to put into his craft and honing his skills to be the best at his position, right? Tucker's done that. And every year he's gotten better. 67.8 and then 68.1. I'm really, really excited to see Tucker ball out. And again, this goes hand in hand with what we talked about, Aaron, because their stack backers are so weak, right? Wilson and Queen both grading out bad. What was Wilson's coverage grade? His coverage grade, I'm going to drop that down. Thank you for that super chat, bub. 46.7, right? So that's a weak spot. And then if you looked at Queens, once again, his coverage grade, 32.9. Boys, that sounds like, and girls, sorry, that sounds like a Tucker Kraft day. So Matthew Golden, probably going to be very, very careful with his over-under. Even if he plays, he's a little banged up. Plus, Patrick Ramsey. Is it Patrick Ramsey? Jalen Ramsey. Patrick Ramsey was an old quarterback back in the day. That's hilarious. Jalen Ramsey playing better in the slot than outside. I wouldn't focus on Golden so much in terms of, fantasy football or even maybe trying to take an over on him. Now, listen, he could ball out. I hope he does. But I think if you're playing the numbers game here, I would press into maybe a Tucker Kraft type role there, and a Romeo Dobbs is what it kind of feels like. And the reason I say this is because if you do come out in a dub set, and let's say you're in 11 personnel, and you run a dagger concept or even a slot cross concept, which we know Matt LaFleur loves those two concepts, that's going to really open things up for Romeo Dobbs on that dig. And the reason that's always open on a cover one-man look, guys, is because think of it. The one would be Dobbs running the dig, okay? And in front of him, it's either going to be a go route, right? If it's a go route, then you're taking the post safety with you. And keep in mind, the outside corner that's on Dobbs is playing outside leverage, funneling everything to the middle of the field. So if that's the case, and you could even run a dagger, but turn it into a skinny post with that number two, that's another way you can hold that safety at home. Now, if the safety bites, if he says, I think they're going to Dobbs, that's going to be their go to guy, and he wants to clamp down from his post position and come down on that dig, fire it over the top to whoever's in the two. If it's Matthew Golden, Savion, whoever. I like the idea of Christian Watson being in that number two on that situation. And you can accomplish that not just from a Dubs 11 personnel or a Dubs 12 personnel. You can also press into 12's twin, which is something that we like to do a lot last week. Was you notice Matt LaFleur would line up two wide receivers on one side of the formation and the tight ends on the other. And we were still running mesh. It was just a tight end wide receiver combo mesh, or a crosser. It was a tight end wide receiver crosser concept. Or at one point, we flexed from that position, we flexed the Y out with Tucker Kraft, and we ended up running crossers that way as well, right? So you could still get to the same concepts and different looks. And by doing that, you're forcing Ramsey on the outside where he's not playing as good a football. So that's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be definitely going to be a nice little chess match for sure. I'm excited about this game. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Aaron. I think Tucker, man, this might be a game for him for sure. See what Coach Lynn had to say. Speed to three with Watson would really open up the middle of the field. Yeah, and if you go to that three, here's what's cool too, Coach. Let's say Matthew Golden doesn't play, and you go, okay, if he's in the three, that means you're in a trip set, and Matthew Golden ain't on the field. How often are you going to run trip sets? Well, you can do it out of 12, right? Just flex Tucker out over there, or flex Musgrave out over there, and get to the same thing, and just make sure, like you're saying, Christian Watson is that speed to three. What we mean by that, guys, is when you hear me say the one, the two, or the three, you count from the outside in on both sides. Okay. So if you're just talking about the left side of the formation, the outside receiver would be the number one. He would be the one receiver. The next one in would be the two. Just count it outside in. 1, 2, 3. So when you hear Coach Lynn or anybody else say speed to three, you're talking about putting a speedy receiver in that number three spot. And it really, really puts the defense in a bind. Whether you want to run a deep climb route where he can run away from man coverage and still clear the safety, or if you want to send him on a go with a dagger concept or whatever it may be, right? But throwing speed to three really upsets. It really upsets match coverage is what it does. And there's a lot of teams that play a lot of match coverage. So great point, Coach. That'd be nice to see Christian out there. What I want to see Christian do is just take the top off the defense all day long. I don't want to see him working underneath much. If you want to get him 10 reps, when you call dagger, make sure he's in the two taking the top off, right? If you want to go with another concept, a Haas concept or whatever, make sure he's in the proper spot to take the top off the defense, right? And let him get his wind back. Let him, and who knows, man, he may burn somebody off the line. It's a good test of his speed as well. Chuck that thing up, chuck and duck, see if you hit a home run, That's kind of how I see this experiment with Watson coming back from injury. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I can't wait. Let's jump into the defensive side of the ball real quick, guys. I can't believe we're already 32 minutes in. This is wild. And we've minimized the coughing, I believe. And that's, now that I'm thinking about it, it'll happen. You watch. But so there it is. Aaron Rodgers. All right. Listen, the key is going to be to stop Aaron Rodgers in this game. Their running game has been pretty bad, which is wild because Warren's grading out pretty well. Like if I were to look, let me just take a quick glance. I don't want to misspeak here. Hopefully I got this correct earlier. In terms of yards per rush attempt, the Steelers are actually 23rd in the league at only 3.9 yards per attempt. It makes you wonder, well, how the hell is Warren grading out so high, right? There's the answer. Look at the receiving grade. It's a 88.4 receiving grade. So what's that tell you? Aaron is checking down. He's got the second highest receiving grade of any running back in the league right now, according to PFF. Now, I don't know how many attempts he's gotten, but his run grade ain't horrible to 73.2. But what it tells you is their offensive line probably not run blocking that well, right? Kind of like the Josh Jacobs thing that we had earlier in the year. So now their pass offense is much, much better, right? I think I looked it up earlier. What was their yards per pass attempt? It kind of surprised me, to be honest with you. I knew Aaron was having a much better year than PFF was giving him credit for, but I didn't know it was this good. So they're sitting 11th in yards per pass attempt right now at 7.4. So that's pretty solid. Green Bay's up there in number 4 spot at 8.2. So just anybody who still thinks Jordan Love ain't a good quarterback. But anyway, so Aaron Rodgers, 64.3, Warren, 79.9 coming out of the backfield, okay? Let's focus on their offensive line. From left to right, you got Broderick Jones, who almost killed Aaron Rodgers last week when he tackled him in celebration. 51.3. And then you've got, let's see if we can pronounce this name, Isaac Sayamalo. Samalo? We'll go with Samalo. All right. Probably wrong. 71.1. So at left guard, pretty stout performance so far this year. There's Zach Frazier, their center. You see last year, guys, 77.9. This year, he's dipped to a 64.9. He's a little banged up right now. 64.9 is still the 13th highest graded center in the game right now. So still a pretty solid performance there from Zach Frazier. I think he is a strength on that offensive line. Then you got McCormick at right guard, Mason McCormick. I remember him when he came out in the draft. We did a little breakdown on him because he was a pretty solid prospect. Last year, 57. This year, he's jumped to a 67. So pretty good. Not bad at all, right? And then you got, I think it's Fontana is how I always said it. It might be Fatanu. I think it's Fatanu. That's what it officially was, Fatanu. Another young guy, right? He's only been in the league this is his second year. 64.4 last year, 57.9 this year. And the reason I want to point that out is because if you notice, you look at this offensive line, the weak spots are the tackles, right? So Aaron Rodgers, think about this. They're 11th in yards per pass attempt. Their running game, they're in the bottom third of the league in terms of yards per carry, which I think is a more important statistic than rushing yards per game. If you're going to stop Aaron Rodgers, let's make sure we got 7 in coverage. We know firsthand that the defense he hates to play against the most is 2-man under. Now, listen, you can't sit in 2-man under all day long. I'm not saying that. But you'll probably see a match-heavy offense or a match-heavy defense, which has man principles to it, and you'll probably show a too-high shell a good chunk of the day. That way, Aaron can't kind of pick you apart. Aaron's superpower is reading and recognizing the blitz and knowing exactly where to go with the football. And his secondary superpower, of course, is that quick release, lightning release, deadly accurate underneath. I think he's at like 68% completion percentage this year, which is really 3% higher than his career average. So with all that being said, the fact that their tackles are struggling, the offensive tackles are struggling, the running game has been struggling, although Warren's still grading out good in the receiving game. I would say 4-man rush, 7 in coverage, give a good little healthy look at 2-man under or match coverage, which essentially can accomplish the same thing if you're doing a too-high shell, like a cover 4 match, something like that. And let's try to get pressure with 4. Here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to cage rush Aaron Rodgers, okay? What do I mean by that? With a cage rush, you're kind of harnessing your pass rush and you're trying to force the pocket in around the quarterback, but keep him in the pocket so he doesn't scramble. Don't let him scramble, right? Aaron's not looking to scramble. Now, look, he's looking to step up and out of the pocket to create a secondary throwing window. So you don't have to cage rush, right? And you don't have to touch spy. Another touch spy, you got your one tech, puts hands on a double team, and he's spying the QB, make sure he doesn't scramble up the middle. You don't have to worry about that with Aaron. So check that off the list. What I think we should do, 4-man rush, be aggressive with your pass rush. That doesn't mean blitz. That means be aggressive with the 4-man rush. Pin your ears back. Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons, go get the damn quarterback, right? And Devontae White, if he's going to be out there, right? Go get the quarterback. Don't worry about him scrambling. Listen, I can live with myself. If we force Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket and he somehow, some ways runs for a first down, I can live with that. What I can't live with is us kind of playing patty cake with a little cage rush and a little concerned about him scrambling and him just picking us apart all night. Go hit him early and often. You guys know I love 12. I love Aaron Rodgers. Not on Sunday night. Put his ass in the dirt all night long and do it with a 4-man rush so you can keep 7 in coverage. I don't think Aaron is going to be quick to throw a pass into coverage, but he's going to hold that ball and he will take a sack or just throw it out of bounds, get it, throw it away, get rid of it, right? I think that's the best way to attack this because, and here's the other thing. We may come with that approach, whether it's a quarters match coverage look like a Palms or something like that, or a 2-man under look, and they come out and run the ball, and they might run it effectively. If that happens, okay, cool. You adjust. Remember we talk about the 3 phases of the game. First quarter, you're gathering information. Did our game plan line up with what they do well? Are we making them play left-handed? Do we have the upper hand? Do we keep with the game plan, right? You're gathering information. Or did they do something different and we have to change our game plan? What I mean by that is a perfect example of that very thing. In the first quarter, if you go out there and you're playing 2-man under and you're playing shell match, right? And they run the rock and they start to establish a run on you, That's the information you've gathered. All right. Second and third quarter is all about the adjustment. The second quarter mainly is make that adjustment, start stopping the run, and then you'll have to adjust to Aaron as he starts to change things up himself, right? And of course, you want to control the middle late. And then by the time you get to the fourth quarter, you may be up by 10 points. They may be up by 10 points. Game plan goes out the window. Now you got to play the fourth quarter as if it's a standalone game. So I say that because just because they haven't run the ball effectively this year doesn't mean they won't tomorrow. I also want to mention this too. It's almost slipped my mind. They have not been great at running the ball, right? We just talked about that. However, recently, rushing or yards per rush attempt, Pittsburgh 3.9, right? 23rd best in the league. The last three games, however, 4.9, a full yard better. So if they were doing that during the entirety of the season, they would be tied for third best running. So the last three games, they've been much better. The last game they played, 7.4 yards per rush attempt. So when I say they got a bad running game, that's overall throughout the entire season. Here lately, they've been amping it up a little bit. So you got to, if you go out there and play that game plan I just talked about with shell coverage or two-man under and they start running a rock, be quick to adjust. What I would like to see, rather than a shell look, is get a safety down in the box for the run fit, whether it's McKinney or Williams. I would much rather it be Evan Williams personally, but get him into the run fit in the box. And then post-snap, if it is a pass, get him back there. Get him back in coverage, right? And still accomplish that two-man under or that shell look. So, but play with that extra guy in the box might be the way to combat that. It's not that you're going to trick Aaron Rodgers. That's not going to happen, gang. We're not going to catch him off guard with some kind of sugar. He's seen it all. He's written books on it, right? He knows exactly what he's looking for. But it's just all about getting that extra hat in the box against the run while still playing two-man under or a shell match coverage. So that's kind of how I see that. And again, attack the edges because that's their weak spot. When you look at their wide receivers, it's all about this guy right here. DK Metcalf, he's been great, guys. I think he's third in the league right now, if I remember correctly, at yards per reception. It was something like 18.5 yards per catch. So he is just he's been a big play machine. He leads the Steelers with over 400 yards receiving already. You see his PFF grade is 78.6. So when you see the tape, DK Metcalf looks good. When you look at the NFL Pro data and the stats like yards per reception, receiving yards, things like that, DK, good, checks the box. You go to PFF, 78.6, 14th highest graded receiver, checks the box. This is a Tuesday player. Everything in their passing game, we just told you they're probably going to be looking to pass the ball and do it short, efficient, that type of thing, right? Everything should be geared around taking away DK Metcalf and this other target right here, which is he's not even on the list right now, which is absolutely wild. We'll probably have to go to 12 personnel. Where's he at? Where's Freiermuth at? That's really strange. Why would they not have Freiermuth there? Is Freiermuth healthy, guys? Because I've seen him on NFL Pro. He's pretty solid with stats this year. Somebody let me know in the chat. Is Freiermuth their tight end? Is he healthy? Or do I got my names? No, he's right there. Yeah, so there he is. So he started 2 games. He's played in 6. So he's played in all 6 games. So I think he's healthy. It's weird that they wouldn't mention him. I would love to know what his PFF grade is. So anyway, I was going to say watch for Freiermuth because that's another guy that Aaron likes to go to. So obviously they've got this is Jonnu Smith. They traded for Miami last year. He had a great year. This year he's really struggling. And then you've got Darnell Washington, who's just a massive human being, 6'6", 264. He's grading out a 56.6 as well. He's a third-round pick there. So, yeah. So I would look for Freiermuth. Again, you've got to contain and control DK Metcalf, take away Freiermuth as well. I think Freiermuth would be the top tight end target there personally. Actually, let me just take a look at that. Who got more targets? Freiermuth was 17. Jonnu Smith with 26. So Jonnu Smith is actually getting more targets than Freiermuth. That is wild to think about, man. I thought he was like the heart and soul of that offense in terms of the tight end room. So nonetheless, DK Metcalf's the guy to look out for. So how does that match up against our DB room? We've got obviously Nate Hobbs is struggling, 59.3. You got Keyshawn Nixon at a 68.7, still holding strong there, but he's starting to go down a little bit now. Javon Bullard in the slot starting to get better. 58.8 is what he's sitting at now. At the safety position, Xavier McKinney, 67.7. We know he's much better than that 67.7. Evan Williams having a great year. He's the seventh highest graded safety now at a 76.0. And then at the stack backer position, of course, we got Edgerrin Cooper at a 71. Quay Walker is now up to a 61.6, his highest graded year to date so far. So when you look at the way they're going to attack the defense, DK Metcalf, they're going to probably target Jonnu Smith a lot, but Freiermuth, I think, is a much more effective player. They do like to play 13 personnel, like Emilio was talking about, so keep that in mind as well. But yeah, I really like our chances of stopping their passing game, or at least containing it. Right? That's kind of how I see that. Now, we were talking about going up against their tackles. Micah Parsons, guys, it don't matter which side he lines up on, he should be able to eat. He's grading at a 93.4. He has been unbelievable this year. I mean, you guys know, you're Packer fans. You've watched it the entire time. Rashawn Gary, 70.3. He should be able to beat whoever's in front of him. The pleasant surprise here is Kobe Wooden at that 73.8. Now, we talked about the NFL Pro data, not near as good, right? As his pressure percentage was something, his quarterback pressure percentage was something like 5 or 6%, not that good. Hopefully, we get Devontae Wyatt back. That's going to be the goal there. So, yeah, that's pretty much your PFF preview. So I think we covered everything pretty extensively. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. Go check out the game plan over on patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. And we're going to continue to add to that throughout tomorrow. I should be home most of the day in the office, so I'll be able to get on that. And we'll continue to add information in. I don't know if you guys can hear that scratching, but my German Shepherd, Lincoln, is at the door, and he's trying his damnedest to get in this room right now. He's losing his mind. Let's see if y'all hear him right here. Wait a minute. Podcasters are going, I ain't listening to this crap, Clayton. Yeah, you are. Hang around for a minute. He just ran down the steps. We're good now. Sound like I heard a cattle going there. He weighs $125 now. So he looks like a small horse is what he looks like. But so anyway, there we go. There's your PFF preview. All right. I like our chances, guys. We're 3-point favorites on the road, which means we're probably closer to 4.5 to 6-point favorites, right? It doesn't mean it's a slam dunk win, but I think we got a good shot to win this ball game if we protect the football. That's going to be the big thing for me is how are you going to protect the football, man? Because Aaron's going to protect the ball, right? We know that's going to happen. I mean, that's what he's been great at. As a matter of fact, let me just put this on the screen and just give you guys a quick glance at some of the statistics. We talked PFF. We'll wrap up with this. I don't want to go too long and bore y'all with my rambling, but Aaron Rodgers, here we go. So he's got 1,270 yards passing on the year, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, guys. That's solid. That is solid. He's tracking to 30 touchdowns, 10 interception mark pretty much, right? Passer rating of 105.0, completion percentage 68.6%. Completion over expected is a positive 1.5%. EPA is at a plus 15.8. EPA per dropback, a plus 0.09 there. He's been sacked 9 times on the year, though. So he can definitely get to him. Again, there's Warren, 4.4 yards per carry at 311 yards carry on the season. 311 yards rushing on the season. Kenneth Gainwell averaging 4.3 as well. Not bad there at all. 190 yards rushing on the year. So pretty solid there. In terms of the yards per carry, like I said, though, for whatever reason, overall, they are ranked fairly low in terms of team rushing yards. And then you see DK Metcalf, 406, Pat Freiermuth sitting in there at a 187 yards receiving. Jalen Warren, 184. Calvin Austin, the other receiver, is going to line up opposite DK Metcalf on this heavy 12 and 13 personnel. Heavy 12 personnel, obviously, won't be on the field if DK's out there for a 13 look. But Calvin Austin, 139 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns there as well. But you see DK Metcalf averaging 18.5 yards per reception. So it's going to be a fun game, man. It's going to be a really fun game. Let's see if anybody else has stepped up on defense since it seemed like our boy, of course, it just messed up on us, man. I was just trying to get the individual stats. See if we can do it this way. I want to see who really pops on defense other than TJ Watt from a statistical standpoint here real quick. All right. Let's go defensively. Let's start with sacks here. So TJ is actually second on the team. Look at Wisconsin's finest, Nick Herbig, right? Didn't he play for Wisconsin? 4.5 sacks on the season so far. So he's playing linebacker. TJ Watt, 4 sacks. Keanu Benton, 2.5. Jalen Ramsey's actually got 2 sacks. So keep in mind, when you see 2 sacks at the corner position, we know he plays a slot when we're in 11. Watch for them to fire that nickel. Probably get a couple cat blitzes, right? So we will see how that goes there. Cam Hayward, 1.5 sacks. His what's his stops up to now? 17. Pretty decent stop count right there, right? So yeah. So Nick Herbig's another one we probably want to look out for, guys. That's probably another one we want to look out for. I didn't even see him either on the PFF preview. He does not pop up. It looks like Keanu Benton is their nose tackle, but he's not even popping up. Herbig isn't. So he must be a kind of a backup player that's performing pretty well. So there you go. There's your PFF preview. Look at Murph in the house. What up, Murph? Good to see you, buddy. See what he says. PTA Clay standing up. Got one of those floating desks, huh? Yeah, we got an addition here, man. Listen, I'm getting old, Murph. The hips started hurting, and done a little research, a little reading, and it said, yeah, you're sitting too much, knuckleheads. So I got one of these desks that raise up. Pretty cool. This one actually is a stacker. It just sits on top of the desk and raises up. So it's been nice, man. The hips feeling a little bit better. So sucks getting old, man. Sucks getting old. So that's going to do it, guys. I'm going to get out of here, man. The voice is starting to go on me pretty hard. Really, really, really. Is he really? Chris says Keanu's another Wisconsin alum. Good stuff, man. So Pittsburgh found him a pipeline up there with them Badgers, didn't it? Which, by the way, man, rough year for the Badgers. I think they'll bounce back. Has their coach been fired yet? What's his name? Luke Fickell. I'm afraid to mention that. I know Barry Alvarez might jump on the live stream, cuss me out for mentioning a coach might get fired. But is it Luke Fickell? Is that who their coach is? You guys help me in the chat real quick. We'll talk a little Wisconsin for just a second because I want to get your not necessarily live here on the air, but I want to know what all the Wisconsin fans think about. Do you want a new head coach, right? Because I know they're struggling so bad, and it sucks. He says not yet, but will be. Yes, it's Fickell. All right, so Luke Fickell. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, it's an interesting situation, man, because for as long as I can remember, Wisconsin's always had a great football program, right? Maybe great's a little strong. They've always been a good football program, right? And the Barry Alvarez days, obviously, they were, dominant, right? Rose Bowl appearances and all that stuff. But I don't know, man. It just kind of feels like you've got to get the right coach in there. And if Fickell ain't him, I know there's some people who say, oh, well, you got to give him time and this and that. I'm going, man, I don't know. You got Indiana. I mean, what did Indiana do? And I know Wisconsin fans hate hearing about Indiana, but what did Indiana do to fix their program? They went and got a great head coach. And I know there's people that don't like him. I can't remember his name. Now you guys help me in the chat. He's the fiery old gentleman. I didn't realize, I was listening to a pod earlier today, a college football pod. And I didn't realize that he actually coached at Alabama and then went down to James Madison, right? And turned that program around. And then he takes the job at Indiana. But the moral of the story is Indiana got the right coach, man, right? Got to get the right coach in there. You got to. And stop delaying it. Get it done. Who do y'all want to see? Y'all want to see some Nick Saban up there in Wisconsin? I'm just joking. Nick Saban ain't coming back out of retirement. But, yeah, let's see here. Chris says he went away from their heart, big old line and run game, plus almost lowest NIL pot in the Big Ten. That hurts, right, man? That hurts. Yeah, Kurt Signetti. Thank you, Bates. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, that's it. Kurt Signetti. Yeah. So what you're saying there, Chris, can be tough to contend, man, if you get the lowest NIL pot in the Big Ten, man, because those schools, boy, they're churning out the money. 2-0 for this, says Joe Barry to Wisconsin. What do y'all think about that? Put it in the chat. Let me know. Do you want Joe Barry to be your next Wisconsin Badger head coach? I don't think many people will sign on to that. So, all right, that's it. I'm out of here, guys. I'm gonna go take some syrup and call it a night. Appreciate everybody. Listen, thank y'all so much for being patient with me this week, because I know it's been hard to listen to me hack and cough live on the stream, and everything's getting better, obviously. So just thank y'all so much for being patient there. Thank you for all the kindness. The show is absolutely blown up. We picked up over 100 subs in the last 3 days. So what's crazy is the analytics are still showing we've got a ton of people that are returning viewers, right? Like we're averaging almost 300,000 views per month, essentially, as a channel. We got a bunch of people watching that are not subbed, right? So if you guys are hearing my voice, and you're not subbed to the channel, just take a quick second, hit that sub. And if you like this type of content, make sure you click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. So see here, 2-0 for this says, thanks for being consistent, Clay, with not feeling the greatest. You're the truth. Feel better. I appreciate it. But again, man, there's a couple of times I almost canceled the show this week because I didn't want it to be low quality. You know what I mean? It's show already sucks. Can't get much worse. But when you're hacking on the mic, it obviously does get worse. So thank you, Larry. Appreciate that, buddy. Everybody, Cannonball John, you guys are awesome, man. So hit that like on the way out. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to get another night's rest, and I think I'm going to be 110% tomorrow. So we'll be back 6 p.m. Central for PTA Live tomorrow. We'll go over the game plan, and we'll probably have the guys in here, and we'll talk in detail about how the Packers should attack the Steelers at a little bit different level. And then, of course, come Sunday, man, it's going to be awesome. We'll probably I might do an early show and just kind of talk about some of the action around the league. And then, of course, we'll go live about an hour and a half before kickoff, and we'll give you all of the information. We'll go an hour and a half before kickoff for the pregame show, the PTA pregame show. I got to keep reminding myself there's new viewers here. So we do a pregame show every Packers game day. And what we'll be able to do with Sunday Night Football is we can go through and give you guys all of the final scores from around the league, talked about the updated standings. Where does the NFC North sit now as we go into our matchup there in Pittsburgh? Obviously, the Packers going in to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, they're saying clear skies and 56 degrees for Sunday Night Football. That's absolutely perfect weather. So hit that like, hit subscribe on the way out, guys. Appreciate y'all so much. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go back.
Here we go.
We're out.
Bye, guys.